The story begins with a young man, a top student and genius swordsman, who has never had any romantic experience and doesn't play games. One day, while chasing after a girl, he is struck by lightning and transported to another world. In this new world, he must survive in a harsh environment with no signal and fight monsters non-stop to level up, accumulate skill points, exchange for high-tier weapons, and unlock the hidden system of the mercenary system, including offense, assassin, and service types. However, his road to leveling up appears to be blocked by an obstacle, the god of death. He feels a sense of fear for the first time and realizes that he is being ruthlessly dominated and controlled. It's as if he is being toyed with, like a cat playing with a mouse. He feels he is being examined and judged by the gods. Despite the obstacles he faces, he never gives up. He keeps going even if he falls, fails, and repeats the process. Giving up is never an option, no matter the success or failure. He is determined to continue his path to killing gods in this new world. His name is Chen Jiqiao. He is a high school student who is good at solving problems. However, he finds himself in a troublesome situation as he has developed a crush on a girl in his class named Xiaomai, known for causing trouble in class but is also good at taking care of dungeons. One day, Xiaomai asks Jiqiao to take care of her homework as she has to run some dungeons with her guild. She then invites him to join her guild, as they need a healer. Jiqiao agrees and receives Xiaomai's ID from entering the game. Later that day, Jiqiao returns home early due to the heavy thunderstorm approaching the city. His mother asks him if there are any packages for him, to which he replies yes and heads to his room. His mother reminds him to come down later for dinner. Jiqiao logs into the game Cosmos, which is the most popular immersive VR online game. He chooses to be a healer, as that is the role Xiaomai mentioned they needed. As it is his first time purchasing Cosmos, he is given the option to choose an outfit, and he decides to dress a little more formally since it's his first day. As the game begins to load, the thunderstorm in the city reaches the red warning level, prompting a message to appear, reminding players to turn off all household appliances to avoid accidents. Jiqiao excitedly prepares for his first date with Xiaomai in the game. But suddenly, the power goes out. He hears a strange noise and investigates, only to find that Xiaomai is missing. He then receives a mission in the triple upload game, but he is still determining what it entails. In episode 2 of our story, we find Chen Jilao and Xiaomai undergoing teleportation. Jilao feels like his body is being electrocuted but finds the experience comfortable. Xiaomai thanks Jilao for coming to her rescue and calls him her hero. Suddenly, Xiaomai slurps loudly, prompting Jilao to ask her to slow down as her saliva is all over his face. Xiaomai becomes excited and starts shouting Jilao's name repeatedly. The teleportation process has been intense, but they are both safe. Jilao realizes he has entered the game and is now in a hot, desert-like environment that feels very realistic. He tries to contact Xiaomai, but her ID needs to be found. He decides to head to the beginner's village, but when he checks the Cosmos map, he finds that his current location needs to be confirmed, and the environmental inclination is desert. Do the coordinates show an area with X and Y? He becomes increasingly concerned about his situation as he is losing a lot of sweat and dehydrating quickly due to the hot weather. He tries to contact customer service for help but receives a message stating that his location is outside the service area. Jilao attempts to log out of the game, but he cannot. He becomes anxious as he realizes he may be trapped in the game. Suddenly, he receives a message stating that he has triggered a mission named Survive. The task requires him to survive for 8 hours, but he has yet to learn the rewards or failure penalties. Chen Jilao was feeling frustrated and angry. He had only wanted to play a game with his friend Xueame, but now he found himself trapped in the game and unable to log out. He had tried every method he knew to escape, but nothing seemed to work. He couldn't even contact anyone outside the game. As the hours passed, Chen Jilao accepted that he was stuck in the game. He realized that the game's mechanics were incredibly realistic, and he felt the effects of dehydration and fatigue just as he would in the real world. He knew he would surely die if he didn't find a water source soon. Drawing on his knowledge from watching survival shows like Ed Stafford's, Chen Jilao remembered that limestone often existed near spring water. He decided to explore the rocky area around him for a water source. He hoped that his instincts were correct. After a while, he finally found a water source and eagerly drank from it. He felt relieved that his immediate survival needs had been met, but he could not escape the game. He checked his in-game map and found that he was in an unconfirmed area of the game's environmental climate, specifically in a desert. The map function could not show regions already explored, so he knew he had to be careful as he searched for food. Chen Jilao checked his stats and equipment, realizing that as a level 1 healer, he had meager stats and no attack skills. He felt vulnerable and knew that if he encountered a monster, his only option would be to run. He wondered how he could trigger specific conditions to gain new skills. Looking at his equipment, he was surprised to find an iron sword as his first piece of equipment as a healer. He equipped all his gear and felt the sword's weight in his hand. He noticed the sword's durability was displayed, and it was already at 1%. Chen Zhiliao felt like everything in the game was visualized, down to the wearing down of his equipment. As he set out to find food, Chen Zhiliao heard a strange sound and decided to investigate. He stumbled upon a cave filled with animal skeletons and realized that he had seen these teeth marks before in a book. Suddenly, he heard low growling sounds and realized that desert wolves were nearby. These monsters were level 5, speedy and robust, with a crushing attack with 200% damage. Chen Zhiliao knew that he had to fight, even though he had no attack skills and was disadvantaged. He brought out his sword, ready to face the wolves. If he lost, he knew that he would die. During his first year of high school, he was the president of the Swift Kendo Club and became the youngest to reach the 6th stage of Kendo in China. But why did he learn Kendo? It's simple. His mother was a big fan of Kendo celebrity Kamuna Kani from China, so she had her son learn Kendo from a young age. At first, the boy thought Kendo was easy, just wearing fancy clothes and making fancy moves. However, when he started practicing, he realized that this sport was anything but easy. Facing an opponent in a Kendo suit, listening to your breathing and heartbeat while fighting with another, can surround you with an inexplicable sense of fear. It may even swallow your body entirely, making it hard to react and adapt. This kind of fear stems from weakness. The only way to make yourself strong is to keep practicing, strengthening, and pushing yourself. So he used all his spare time to repeat movements thousands of times in the dojo, even without air conditioning. He kept training and brandishing his Kendo sword despite failing and getting injured. Even after becoming China's youngest 6th stage Kendo practitioner, he never stopped training. In this world, where the strong devour the weak to reign supreme, you'll never know how horrifying your next opponent may be. Now, while fighting a beast, he thought it was underestimating him, and there was no effect while attacking with the sword, which seemingly puzzled him. He remembered that the desert wolf's weakness was its abdomen. He realized that attacking places other than the abdomen was ineffective. The wolf attacked him again, and he said, "Damn it. Knowing its weakness doesn't change anything. This thing is way too fast. And every time it attacks, it does so with the intent to kill. If attacks have no effect, I can only defend, which will drag out until I eventually die." He remembered what his grandpa said when he left, but will he die in a hellhole just like that? He now knew what to do. He tried another skill with the mindset that if that had an effect, then he should be able to kill it. Blood splattered as the wolf injured him. He saw that it seemed impossible for the attack to affect the wolf this time. But intentionally, he had just let the wolf bite him on purpose so that it would let down its guard and its weakness would be exposed. And with this, he summoned more courage to fight again, and he eventually won. Just now, I let the wolf bite me on purpose so it would let down its guard and expose its weakness. He felt the game was getting pretty interesting, and after leveling up, his wounds completely healed. This is a game world, after all. Like any other game, killing MOBs grants experience, and leveling up gives skill points that can be used to increase stats. But what is this hidden mall system? When he unlocked the mall, he saw that, aside from weapons and defensive equipment, there were even household and electronic appliances that cost many levels to unlock. Who would buy home appliances in a game? After he unlocked the game, he saw many mercenaries, defense types, magic types, and assassination types, and these are the only things he can redeem with his current levels. But this should be good enough for now. He realized that the system had shown him the skill points earlier. His status has completely recovered, but he still has no clue what the conditions for activating a skill are. For now, he will have to depend on increasing his stats to save his life. He said that the points could not be adjusted after assigning them, and these stats would probably directly decide his future in the game. Even the desert wolf he killed earlier had more strength and speed than him. It all seemed strange to him. He had seen someone passing. But the werewolf corpses were still there, so he was not mistaken about seeing someone pass by. He wondered if there could be other players like him who were also trapped. Then he discovered something even stranger. The blood in the bodies of the wolves seemed to have been sucked away by something. He wondered if that could be another player who had used a cruel method. But he quickly realized that the thing that killed these wolves was not a human but a monster of an even higher level. This was a monster of a different magnitude compared to the desert wolves he had fought before. He might have died if his agility hadn't been raised immediately after leveling up. A dominant creature in the desert with absolute speed survived on the blood of other animals, and no one could escape its hunt. Even though he had prepared to face all sorts of monsters, the fierce killing intent of this creature was overwhelming. He felt like the monster had pressed him into the ground, rendering him unable to move. He felt like he was waiting to be hunted by it, but this was the first time he had felt something so terrifying. but he decided not to let it scare him. He was amazed by the so-called absolute speed the system had mentioned before. He thought of a recent blow that could have taken his life and wondered what the monster was trying to do. Was it giving him a weapon, or was it trying to lure him in? He wanted to cut its neck, but this scene felt like deja vu. When a cat catches a mouse, it doesn't eat it immediately. Instead, it plays with its prey. As he faced the monster, he realized that ordinary attacks couldn't hurt him. He called the beast a bastard and wondered how it could speak. When the monster called him a human and compared his kind to maggots, he replied by imagining the beast as a larva with a dung beetle brain. The demon laughed, saying it had been hundreds of years since it had last met a human and that it was exhilarated to do so. But he was not moved by the monster's words. He still had a long life ahead of him and refused to die in a place like that. He forced out his powers and activated his extraordinary fighting spirit, along with the special blessing of the god Latinea. All his stats increased to 100. He charged at the monster full force and attacked it, but his weapon's durability reached 0% and broke, becoming unusable. He had no choice but to use his fists to attack the monster to take its experience. But the demon made him look foolish, mocking him like a maggot. Still, he believed he could beat the monster despite his current condition. But it was too late. The beast gathered all its strength and summoned a powerful attack, which killed him in the game as a player. As he slowly opened his eyes, he realized he was back in the real world. Relief washed over him as he scanned his body and saw that he was unscathed. But how did he get here? Did he quit the game, or was he still trapped in it? Confused and disoriented, he heard the sound of a door opening and saw a beautiful lady enter the room. Excitedly, he called her, letting her know he was awake. The lady shouted to her grandfather that he had woken up and immediately became anxious, as the game finally landed him in the beginner's village. But he soon learned he was wrong. This was not the game or the beginner's town. He asked them how he got back here, and they told him that he was found by the grandfather while hunting, near death but not quite dead. They also informed him that they were not NPCs or players from the game. He was incredulous, insisting that this was still the game's world. He showed them his game status tab, mission tab, equipment tab, and mini-map, but they only stared at him in confusion. He was desperate to leave and find the GM and Xiaomai's game ID. However, the grandfather informed him that nobody could leave the Latinea desert, where they were presently located. They were imprisoned here, and the only way to gain freedom was to find the location of the Temple of Kebri, which is said to be in the never-ending maze of the desert. The young lady explained that a thunderstorm transported them here while hunting giant dragons on the Bergama continent. The grandfather added that even gods could be imprisoned here, and countless people have set out to find the temple, but none have ever returned alive. The young man gradually accepted his fate as reality began to set in. He was trapped in this place with no way out. The grandfather suggested they walk around the town, but the young man was still convinced he was in the game. Was he transported directly into the game, just like in Manhwa's? He couldn't shake the feeling that he was still trapped in the game and was determined to find a way out. Although he still didn't know why he was sent there, at least he still had a goal. As long as he could find the Temple of Kebri and kill Nabris, he could return to the world. While he was lost in thought, a young lady called out to him, asking what he was doing there and why he was there. She had been looking for him. He apologized and said he had nothing to do, so he went for a walk. He described the Latinea desert to the young lady, but she informed him that the Latinea desert surrounded the place they were in. This meant that it would take a while to locate the temple. The young lady asked if he would look for the temple, and he said yes. Sally warned him that there were many strong monsters in the desert, some of which even Grandpa Aber couldn't defeat. He assured her that he was a skilled fighter and could handle himself. Suddenly, they were attacked by Bobin. Chen was surprised and asked what was going on. Sally blocked the attack with a wall of fire. When asked why they were being attacked, Sally explained that the hunter-thieves in the area were scarier than the monsters. They weren't willing to hunt in Latinea, so they often stole items from others. They were also a group of cowards who hunted and killed their kind for a living. Bobin said Sally had run away last time, but escaping this time wouldn't be easy. Sally then told Chen to go back and find Grandpa Aber while she dealt with the attackers. Grandpa Aber noticed that a thunderstorm was on its way again, the same one that brought them to their current location. He commented that Sally should already be back from town by now. Bobin interjected and asked if Sally thought he would allow Chen to find the old man. He told Sally that her spells couldn't hurt him, so it would be better for her to return obediently with him. Sally replied that he only dreamed if he thought she would do that. Bobin warned Sally not to blame him if he became rude. Sally told Chen that she would think of a way to stop them and that he should leave in time. However, Chen refused to leave, stating that the word escape did not exist in his dictionary. Although they had only known each other for a short time, Chen was not someone who could abandon his companions and leave by himself. Bobin attacked Chen, calling him trash and asking who he thought he was. Chen twisted Bobin's wrist and questioned whether he used his strength to attack him. Bobin conceded that Chen's strength could dislocate his wrist and that he was fast. Sally expressed concern for Chen's well-being, but he reassured her that he was okay. Sally asked Boban what he was trying to accomplish. He said he had repeatedly requested Sally to be his girlfriend, but she rejected him. Sally told Boban they couldn't be together and advised him to give up. Chen suggested that Boban was doing everything nervously so that Sally could be his girlfriend. Boban asked if Sally had chosen Chen over him, to which Sally replied that Chen was just a friend. Boban accused Sally of making excuses and challenged Chen to a battle, stating that he would stop bothering Sally if Chen won. Chen accepted the challenge, and Sally asked if he could win. She warned him that Boban was the strongest shadow swordsman in town and that sworders who used the power of shadows had a speed advantage and surprisingly physical solid strength. Chen replied that he had already died once and, compared to death, he would instead leave the place. He told Sally not to worry and said the battle had to be fought. If he won, then they could leave the site. Chen expressed confusion over how his perfect life had become problematic. He believed defeating Boban would be enough to obtain the map to leave. Sally asked if the only thing Chen found attractive about her was her strength. Meanwhile, Boban remained defensive, and Sally suggested that Chen call Grandpa Albert to help them. However, Chen refused to leave and insisted that defeating Boban was the only way to go the game world. Chen believed that the events leading up to their situation were illogical and may have been manipulated by someone. Boban challenged Chen to a fair fight to prove that he was not just bullying him. Chen remembered Boban's sneak attack and refused to believe he would play fair. Boban's subordinates mocked Chen for being a priest and not worthy of fighting a shadow man. Boban suggested that Chen leave Sally behind, as a priest was not worthy of being his opponent. Chen accused Boban of being afraid of being defeated in front of Sally. Boban finally agreed to fight Chen and promised to show him the real strength of a shadow swordsman. Chen was taken aback as Boban split into three, realizing that shadow sworders use clones to fight. The first attacker was a clone, and Boban appeared behind Chen and attacked him from there. Chen quickly deduced that the clone and the real Boban could switch positions. Dealing with this type of occupation was annoying, Chen thought. Boban sneered at Chen, calling him trash for just awakening as a priest. He felt disgusted that he had even deemed compassion for Chen earlier. Now, he vowed to let Chen experience the ultimate attack of a shadow swordsman before he died. Chen replied that he wanted to meet Boban halfway. He ordered one of his clones to play around with Chen, but Chen quickly realized that defending against the clone's attack was exhausting. Boban remarked that Chen had escaped by luck earlier but would not allow Chen to be so fortunate this time. However, Boban was surprised to see Chen avoiding his attacks, wondering what was happening. Chen replied that it was dangerous and that he almost died. If he hadn't gained those skills, his head would have fallen. He had to get rid of the remaining clones. Boban was taken aback by Chen's skills and said he had underestimated him too much. He vowed to stop playing with Chen and urged him to open his eyes carefully. Without a weapon, Chen could only dodge. Boban said he would find Chen a proper grave and that his end was near. Unfortunately, Grandpa came and said they had to go as a thunderstorm was coming. Chen thought about how the system had determined that he had defeated Boban. But the battle was over. Boban had shouted for Chen to return and continue fighting, but he had to return home due to the impending storm. Sally tended to Chen's wounds and advised him to endure a little longer as the battle would end soon. Chen apologized for any inconvenience he may have caused, but Sally was surprised at how strong he was. He had not leveled up after gaining the experience, and his wounds needed to be treated. He needed to research the upgrade mechanism more. Chen was surprised to learn that Sally and Grandpa knew Boban well, and Sally explained that they had grown up together like blood-related siblings. Chen thanked her for everything and told her to help Grandpa Albert. He acknowledged her and said she should go ahead. It rained heavily that day, and Chen realized that his mother was probably anxious because he had not returned home yet. He thought of returning home quickly after defeating Boban and accomplishing his mission of obtaining the map of Latinea. He still needed to find the Holy Temple by following the map and defeating the boss inside. That seemed great, and he could finally set off after the rain stopped. He had obtained the hidden key and asked what it was for. During battles, mysterious treasure chests of various colors would randomly drop. The colors were white, green, purple, red, orange, and black. Using this key to unlock them, they would randomly drop gems or pieces of equipment that could not be bought from the market. Chen realized that treasure chests would randomly drop during battles and looked forward to finding them. Grandpa sincerely apologized for not checking on Chen Jilao earlier, but the rain had made it difficult to protect the seedlings. Chen said it was fine and asked if there was something he needed from him. However, Grandpa was only concerned about his injuries. He reassured Chen that his abrasions would heal in a few days. Grandpa also said he did not think Chen could win the battle against Boban, as Boban was a powerful swordsman in the village. If Boban had not underestimated him, Chen would not have had a chance of winning. Grandpa explained that during a battle, one could not rely on power alone but also needed to consider factors such as willpower. Chen then asked Grandpa how Boban became the way he was, and Grandpa began to tell the story of how everything had happened. 10 years ago, it was raining heavily, just like the day Grandpa Albert told the story. He and Sally had just arrived in Latinea and passed by a house where they discovered a strange demonic monster attacking the family. Unfortunately, they were too late to save the host and hostess, but they were able to rescue the crying child, who turned out to be Boban. Grandpa Albert took Boban in and raised him after burying his parents. Chen was surprised and asked why Boban acted the way he did toward the man who saved his life. Grandpa explained that Boban believes his reason for living is to find the monster that killed his parents, but he has been persuading Boban to let go of that goal and live happily. Grandpa also warned Chen about the powerful monsters that inhabit Latinea and how dangerous it is to travel through the desert to find the temple. Chen realized that he needed to become more vital to find the temple and survive against the monsters. He asked Grandpa Albert to teach him how to fight, but Grandpa advised him to rest first. Chen then had an idea of how to leave, but he realized he had been too impulsive and apologized for his outbursts. Despite having the map, Chen knew that he still faced many challenges in finding the temple. He was killed effortlessly by the last monster, and he needed to improve his skills to stand a chance against the other powerful monsters in Latinea. He was determined to become stronger and complete his mission. Chen found himself in a world with 5 continents, each with its own unique characteristics and inhabitants. He was on Polaris, where the human race thrived and was known for its outstanding products and trade. Residents from all over the world congregated there, making it a bustling hub of activity. Chen learned that to the west of Polaris were active volcanoes and the home of the dragon knights and megaliths. To the north was the continent of giants, beasts, and abundant spar minerals, known as Canthido, which was covered in eternal winter. The east was the continent covered in a dense forest, Bigava, where families of elves with powerful magic lived alongside giant monsters. Finally, to the south was Chibutak, the edge of the world, where the marvels with the best forging abilities resided. Chibutak was also known for its endless sea, which some believed could lead to the realm of the gods, a myth that Chen once dismissed. But as he arrived there, he began to think that those myths may be true, and finding the temple to leave Latinea shouldn't be a myth either. Chen and Lily slept overnight at the place they were staying, and when they woke up, their grandpa appeared. Lily had apparently finished confessing to their grandpa, causing him to tease her. He then turned to Chen and asked if he was prepared for the challenge, to which Chen confidently replied that he was. Grandpa went on to explain that at the beginning of creation, the gods gave the world different races, missions, and professions, but the only thing they had in common was the elements that created the world. He emphasized the importance of genuinely experiencing the flow of the factors to harness their strength. Grandpa then revealed that he had a mission for Chen. Outside the Latinea teleportation array was a habitat for beasts, and he wanted Chen to use his sword, Ozil, to kill the Beast King and bring back its head. If Chen could do this within 3 days and with the true strength of the sword, he would pass the test. However, Grandpa warned that he might not come back, and he could still back out now. But Chen was determined and declared that he would never retreat, promising to come back with the Beast King's head. With the mission confirmed, the clock started ticking. Chen had 72 hours to complete the task, and his fate hung in the balance. Grandpa told Chen that ORCs possess incredible defensive power, and it's only possible to kill the Beast King after mastering the power of the elements. He also advised Chen that the power of the features would come to him in desperate times. Chen arrived at the mission location and was surprised to see that it was different from the desert he had seen before. The sand was black, there wasn't a single ray of sunlight in the sky, and there was a foul stench in the air. However, he reminded himself that his task was to find the head of the ORCs, and he shouldn't worry about the environment. He acknowledged that it would be challenging to defeat the boss at his current level, but he planned to kill smaller mobs first to level up. He said not enough. It's still not enough. Impossible. How could I lose to him, a priest that doesn't even have an awakening element yet can emit such a strong attack power that it even made him tremble. I've also never seen Albert use those moves before, and they were surprised seeing Chen fight. One said, I could tell that he could barely stop that blow. This Chen Jalao, who exactly is he? Chen Jalao, who exactly is he? Killed a Dota. Level up. He killed a Dota. Level up. He killed a Dota. Level up. Level up. The level that he painstakingly gained will have 15 of them consumed at once if he wants to unlock the pharmacy, and it's giving him a headache. If the mechanism consumes levels, each upgrade will be more complex than the last if he continues to gain levels. If he wants to unlock or buy items in the store in the future, the unlocking fee will become more and more expensive. To open everything, including the highest store, he needs a total of 300 levels. Therefore, the most correct choice would be for him first to accumulate levels and unlock the most elevated level store first. But right now, he has to kill the Beast King. For that, he must gain some medicines and guarantee his own survival rather than using up his levels. The medicine in the store regenerates and buffs according to ratios, meaning that the larger the base numbers, the better the recovery. With 2 lives at stake, he feels bold. Just now, he exhausted much of his energy fighting those monsters and has to buy food from the daily necessity store, leaving him only one level. He buys some food that has a hunger-reducing effect, and while eating, he realizes that Sally's bread is the most delicious. 12 hours have passed already, and there are about 60 hours left until mission completion. Grandpa Albert already told him that the group of monsters resides in the northwest. According to the map markings, he can probably find the herb. He just remembered that he still has attribute points that still need to be assigned. What should he do with the leftover issues? His previous plan for distributing attribute points improved his strength and agility immensely, but his MP and defense still need to be higher. If he uses skills that require MP in the future, the lack of MP will result in lessened damage from those skills. One problem is that if his HP is higher in battle, it will affect the impact of his skills. It's very possible for him to meet an enemy that wouldn't give him enough time to use potions before his life will be in danger. Sally said to Grandpa Albert, "You let Chen go to such a dangerous den. Will it really be alright?" Not knowing that Grandpa already has a plan to save him if he is in any danger by leaving a mark of signal on the sword, even Chen didn't know. Alright, but why would you have let him go there? And how come Grandpa Albert has never mentioned that he has been to the den before? It was only when Grandpa Albert was hunting that he discovered the den. Grandpa left for the town and told Sally to prepare some meals before he came back, but Sally only thought Grandpa Albert was so half-hearted. Grandpa Albert knows that there is no way to stop Chen from wanting to leave unless he sees the den and experiences the truth of this world. Only then will he perhaps give up. But for some reason, although Grandpa knows it's an impossible task, he hopes that he can bring back the Beast King's head. In the Latinea Desert, there are powerful creatures known as the Dominic Beasts. They have high attack power and health but move slowly like tanks. There are also intelligent beast tamers known as the Savage Beast, such as Ratchedler, who can summon and control barbaric giants to attack their enemies. Chen encountered a high-level beastman, similar to the plunderers he had experienced before. This was good news because it meant that the Beastman's nest was nearby. He also came across a woman and child who had been transported to this world, like Chen and Grandpa Albert. Chen assured them that they would be safe. The monster insulted them, calling them foolish, ignorant, and cowardly bugs. Chen remembered that the beast who had killed him had said the same thing. He had also told them to savor the pleasure of being chewed to a pulp. However, Chen had become more potent after leveling up, and the chief monsters wanted to kill him themselves. Chen managed to capture the monster and asked why they were after the woman and her child. The monster claimed to be a servant of God and warned Chen that killing him would bring a curse upon him. He revealed that the Beastman's nest was located at Blackrock Mountain, which matched the information provided by the system. However, the monster had already captured the woman and child, and he threatened to twist their necks slowly and suck their blood. Suddenly, another group of people arrived to save the woman and child. They introduced themselves as Bros, a warrior, Phaloga, an assassin, and Rachel, a healer. They had been transported to this world 3 days ago and had been attacked by the Beastmen. One of their companions had been captured during the chaos, and they had been following the footprints until they met Chen. Chen did not know why they had been transported to this world, but he believed that one of the captured monsters might have the answer. The group asked Chen about the truth, and he answered honestly, but they found it hard to believe him. Chen asked them to trust him because he was not lying. Based on the monster's knowledge, every human in this world was sent by God as food for the monsters, and the demons were simply following God's will by standing guard there. In the town of Delks, the villagers still determine if they can defeat the monster guarding the shrine. They doubt Albert for sending a child who has not yet mastered the power of the elements. If the gods get angry, the entire village could be in danger. Some suggest that Albert should go after Chen in the desert and get him killed to repent and beg for forgiveness. This suggestion is ridiculous. These same gods slaughter the villagers and treat them like bugs. They sacrifice innocents who are unaware of the situation in exchange for peace, all while creating a false narrative to make the villagers think they are heroes. The villagers glorify their cowardice by trampling on the corpses of others. Albert wants to pick up his weapon, find a way out, protect the innocent, and fight back against the so-called gods, but the others do not understand him. Sending people into the Latinea Desert as food for monsters may be an out-of-the-ordinary story setting for players who do not care for the place. However, after Albert got trapped in the desert with his companions, he realized that these people were alive, not just some NPCs they could trample over for enjoyment. He will not stand by and do nothing. He must find the Khepri shrine and help them escape this place. Thinking about Khepri, Albert remembered reading about him in the library before. In Egyptian mythology, Khepri is the enchantment of the most muscular god of the great Enneads, and Ratchedler mentioned that he was asked to guard the desert. Or could Khepri's shrine be closer to the beast's nest? But no, Khepri's shrine is in the opposite direction. What in the world are they guarding in the desert, then? Maybe some other gods are also sealed there. They are now ready to head to the beastmen's nest, but they may encounter dangers on the way. Rachel may be a healer, but she can also use her magic to create arrays and enhance her element power. She should stay back to protect the woman with her child while the others go. They were advised not to go, but Albert was only scared of being eaten up if he led them to the place. He replied that he was not a beast man who was afraid of death. He was told to shut up and show them. He asked them if they did not want to live anymore and why they were looking for an end at this point. He asked them to stay back and look out for them and promised never to run away. Did they not have sympathy? They should let him go because he does not want to die. They went and arrived at the place to rescue the captives and destroy the beasts. Initially, the prisoners were scared, but Albert asked them not to be afraid and called himself Great Mage Ungamu. He was there to save them. If there were any other heroes, they should join in killing the monsters and getting out of there. As they approached the beastmen's nest, the numbers and levels of the beasts increased, and the fight became more difficult. Chen was the first person they met who could easily defeat the beasts despite not mastering an elemental power. They admired him and invited him to join their guild, which was full of beautiful women. However, Chen didn't seem to know anything about MILFs. They finally reached the nest entrance but worried that the beast man who had shown them the way might have run away while they were fighting giants earlier. One of the giants noticed them and went to inform the king about the human invaders, hoping to receive a reward. As they entered the nest, they realized the stench was indeed that of the beast men. They split up and went down different tunnels, agreeing to recite an incantation if they were in danger so that the others could teleport to them. But as Chen explored his tunnel, he found no beastmen. Meanwhile, the beastman who had seen them went to the king to report that 3 worms had broken in but had fallen into the traps and most likely been killed by the ghoul demons. As they face the scavenger ghouls, Chen realizes that while they aren't individually strong, their numbers make them a formidable foe. Killing them one by one is unproductive, so he must find a better strategy. He has to choose 2 out of 3 available skills: Divine Blessing, Punishing Light, and Sacred Slash, but it's hard to decide which ones to pick based on their descriptions. Divine Blessing and Punishing Light seem like a good combination, but Sacred Slash and Divine Blessing offer twice the HP recovery effects. In the end, Chen chooses Divine Blessing and Sacred Slash, using the former to increase his speed and approach enemies and the latter to deal damage and recover HP. He wonders how Bros and Philoga are faring, but there's no indication from the mark of magic on his hand, so they should be safe. Meanwhile, Bros has encountered a demon lady who is controlling the scavenger ghouls and making them attack him. He vows to turn her into ashes but hears her singing, which drains his strength. The demon lady captures him and taunts him with the prospect of being her next meal. Chen arrives just in time to save Bros from the demon lady's clutches, using his Divine Blessing to defend against her powerful song effect. The demon lady wonders why Chen is still alive, thinking the scavenger ghouls should have killed him. She underestimates Chen's strength, and they both wonder how powerful he really is. The Hellfire Python is an evil creature that dwells in hell. Its body is enshrouded in hellfire, and it can use fire to attack. The monster attacks Chen, and he wonders how far away he is from the creature. He knows he has to hold up against its attacks because it's impossible to kill it from a distance. Chen and Bros encounter a lot of traps on their way to the best man's nest. They follow the right path, but Philoga is attacked by a giant, strong snake they've never seen before. It's like the monsters mentioned in legends that can kill them in seconds if they encounter the Beast King. But Chen believes fear is what will kill them on the battlefield, not the Beast King. He knows they'll encounter even stronger creatures in the future, and he encourages everyone to fight together and never give up. The Hellfire Python's flame armor is now 100% damaged, meaning it's completely destroyed. Bros notices that Chen has undergone a tremendous transformation in just a few hours and wonders who he really is. He asks Ratchedler why he delivered himself into their hands. Ratchedler explains that the King Beast must have activated the traps, and he was told that if he didn't take them to the Beast King, he would be killed. He confesses to knowing the way and the entrance. Bros warns him that if he tries any tricks, he will be castrated. Overall, the group faces challenges and must rely on their courage and determination to survive and continue on their journey. Grandpa Albert opened a door that he had never opened before to others, revealing a room containing his war armor. Sally and Boban had always been curious about what was inside, but Albert had never allowed them near it. Perhaps what was sealed inside was his desire to leave the place. Albert wondered how Boban had gotten there without him detecting him. Boban revealed that he had heard that Albert and his team planned to leave the desert. He wanted to join them because he believed the monster that killed his parents could be found along the way, and all his years of training had been for that purpose. This time, he wouldn't be stopped. Chen and Bros went with Ratchedler, warning him not to try any tricks. Ratchedler showed them the grand hall of the Beastman's Nest, where the Beast King resided, and confirmed that he knew where the captives were being held. Chen advised that after Faloga entered the Grand Hall, Ratchedler should take them to rescue their companions. Bros promised that he and Faloga wouldn't hold him back but warned Chen not to think too highly of himself just because he saved them once. Chen acknowledged that his chances of survival were low, but he would try to level up even without obtaining any elemental powers. Chen decided not to involve any innocent people in his own affairs and advised Bros and the others to go straight to rescue their companions immediately. He would deal with the Beast King alone. Bros refused to abandon any of his companions in danger, even if the chances of victory were low. Chen warned that the monster inside was not a simple creature, and their chances of winning were meager. Bros retorted that they would have died before Chen arrived if he had not come to their rescue. He was determined not to run away and leave Faloga and Chen behind. Since Ratchedler intended to kill the Beast King, he decided to wait for them outside the nest. When they entered the nest, they found it empty. Chen began to suspect Ratchedler because he was the one who had led them there. He wondered why the whole place was open and on guard and why it was so unusual. Chen realizes that the king has terrifying offensive powers. He asks Bros and Faloga if they are okay, but he's baffled by the beast's skills and doesn't know what to do. The monster classifies them as a bunch of bugs and laughs at them. Then, it decides to play with them for a while. When the beast vanishes, Chen is shocked by the kind of skill it possesses. Bros apologized for being a burden to Chen, but Chen told him to leave the rest to him and that he would kill the king. The king replied that they were just appetizers and like worms to him. Chen wondered what move the monster would use next, maybe the same move he used to injure Bros. He thought that even though he could not do anything against the monster's skills, he was no worse than the monster regarding agility and strength. Bros thought about how Chen could withstand the monster's attack and realized that even if he trained for another 10 years, he might be unable to fight the beast. Chen is simply too strong. Even the monster was surprised to see a worm like Chen manage to stand up against his attack. He said it was getting increasingly attractive, but no matter what, a worm would always be a worm. He thought that Chen's resistance would add to his excitement and said that Chen should go to hell. However, Chen defended himself and said that the monster should save his surprises until he chops off his head. He promised to return to the beast multifold what he had done to his friend Bros. Bros was amazed by the kind of skills and power that Chen was using to attack the monster. Even Ratchedler was surprised when he saw that the Beast King's elemental powers did not match Chen's. Even though Chen had used all his skills and could no longer move his body, it was not the end. The monster believed that a useless bug deserved to be trampled to death and that it was Chen's fate. As the battle continued, the beast asked Chen why his parents named him after a bug, stating that the name suited him quite well. The monster insulted Chen, calling him names such as Shorty Nerd and telling him that he was not worthy of anyone's love or affection. Despite these insults, Chen remembered what his mother had always told him, that he should come home with honor. Chen regained consciousness and realized he was still battling with the Beast King. He wondered where he was and if he was already dead, but then he heard a voice call his name and tell him that he was not finished. The stranger didn't know how long he had been there or how he got there, but he had a feeling that Chen was the one who would help him leave. The stranger told Chen that he needed to become his own master and support him in order for them to go to the place. Chen didn't fully understand what the stranger was talking about, but he agreed to help him and quickly returned to the mission. He noticed that a kind of power was constantly surging out of his body, which he realized was the effect of the stranger's support, chaotic power. This power strengthened his skills and activated his Grandpa Alber's sword, which required elemental power in order to be equipped. The Beast King was surprised that Chen was able to withstand his attacks, not realizing that Chen had obtained the elemental power to defeat him. He decided to tear Chen to pieces at once, but Chen was ready for his counterattack. Although the Beast King became even more robust, Chen could now defeat him. Grandpa Albert advised Boban to work diligently and stop slacking if he wanted to help. Boban explained that he was just a bit rusty since it had been a while since he last worked, and he was not slacking. Sally asked Grandpa Albert if Chen was coming home soon, as it had been 3 days since he left. Grandpa Albert responded that he was setting off in a few hours, and something strange happened during his mission. He explained that when highly level monsters are annihilated, energy waves are produced, and the source of the energy wave is coming from the direction of the beast's nest. Chen Jilao seemed to have grasped the elemental power and slain the Beast King. Ratchedler realized that Chen had finally killed his king. Faloga found it hard to believe such an influential person like Chen existed, but Bros explained that such astonishing combat power could erupt instantly. He wondered if Chen had been hiding his true passion all along. Chen also couldn't believe that he could kill such a terrifyingly strong enemy. However, he thought that the man who helped him escape from the strange land in his dream was equally terrifying. He had helped Chen obtain the elemental power and was now inside Chen's body, making Chen his master. Faloga called out to Chen, who was spacing out, and asked him what was wrong. Chen replied that he was fine but that he and Philoga had sustained severe injuries. He asked them to wait there while he went to rescue their companions. Ross urged Ratchedler to hurry and take them to where the captives were being held, and Ratchedler agreed. Although they had won the battle, Chen was unhappy as he had many unanswered questions. He wondered who the old dude was, why he entered the dreamscape at that very time, and whether his coming was a mistake or if someone was orchestrating everything. Chen was exhausted and couldn't get up until Grandpa Albert rescued him and took him home. Chen's mom called out to him, asking if he planned to sleep all day as it was already noon. Chen woke up and asked if Chen Jalao had returned. His mom replied that she had prepared his favorite dishes for him and that he should eat. Excitedly, Chen thought that Chen Jalao had been born. But it was only Bobin he hugged. Bobin was confused and explained that he was only taking care of Chen because he had promised the old man to take care of him, and he didn't want Chen to misunderstand him. Bobin also mentioned that he still wanted to have a match with Chen in the future. After Bobin left, Chen realized that everything he had seen was a dream. He wondered how he had gotten back there and whether Brass and Philoga were okay. He received a message that there was an unopened chest on his back and points gained from leveling up that had yet to be allocated. He should use them as soon as possible. He then remembered that he had obtained a key after defeating Bobin, which he could use to unlock the treasure chest obtained from the Beast King's mission. He wondered what might be inside but was unsure if he should use the key. Eventually, he used the key and obtained a legendary ring with all attributes plus 10. He also received the Beast King's protection skill. The legendary item turned out to be an egg that began to hatch. Chen wondered if there might be some pets inside, but it turned out to be a child who called him Daddy. Chen couldn't help but wonder why he had been paired up with the little kid from the chest. He felt a sense of responsibility to take care of the child, but he couldn't shake the feeling of annoyance at the situation. Did this mean he had to bring the child along with him on his journey to find the temple? As he contemplated this, the little baby jumped on him and called him Daddy. Chen, taken aback and angered, commanded the child to leave him alone, insisting that he was not the child's father. He questioned the baby about who exactly he was and expressed his lack of interest in bringing a young child with him on his adventure. Feeling frustrated, Chen lamented that there was no one he could ask about the child's identity except Sally and Grandpa Albert. When the child started to cry from his harsh words, Chen relented and called the baby his ancestor, telling him to stop crying. However, this moment of tenderness was short-lived, as Chen was soon punished for his previous outbursts. He was sent to an unknown place for 30 minutes, leaving the crying child behind. Chen tried to reassure the child that he did not mean to abandon him. But as a high school student, he had no idea how to care for a baby. As Chen navigated his new surroundings, he was shocked to come face to face with an elite monster. He realized that this must be the punishment he was given and quickly activated his elemental power. Excited by the prospect of a fight, the baby clung to Chen's neck. Meanwhile, Grandpa Albert and Bobin discussed the state of the town and the difficulties in recruiting members for their team to search for the temple. The townspeople were scared of the lies spread by Hicks and others and believed that their actions would anger the gods and destroy the town. Despite this, Bobin suggested that the few of them who were willing to take the risk should still search for the temple and leave the town behind. Grandpa Albert warned that the monsters outside the town were much more potent than they could imagine and they should not take unnecessary risks. When Sally returned to the group, she inquired about their discussion. Grandpa Albert revealed they needed to check on Chen, who had already awakened from his punishment. Sally was surprised to see him and asked where the baby had come from. Chen asked Sally what happened to those two in the cave that they were battle mates. Sally said that Grandpa Albert sent the two to a treatment center in the town, and they could go and see them after eating. The Chen won't hold back, and he asked Ratchedler that do all beastmen cook so well. Still, Ratchedler said no at all, that cooking is his hobby. Then Chen asked him to go get some milk because of the little kid. Sally was taken aback by the many things that happened on Chen's trip to the beastmen's nest. She had initially thought that all he had to do was kill the high-ranking monsters, but now she realized that Chen's adventure was much more complex and challenging than she had imagined. She expressed her admiration for Chen, saying that he was truly unique. However, Bobin responded with envy, saying there was nothing extraordinary about what Chen had done. He claimed that he could have accomplished the same feat if he had been the one to go on the journey. Chen, in response, made a snide remark, saying that if Bobin had gone instead, he might be on his way to collect Bobin's dead body. Bobin flew into a rage and challenged Chen to another match right away. Sally then asked Chen what kind of elemental power he had awakened in order to defeat the Beast King. Chen replied that he needed to figure out which element it was. Sally explained that priests are typically aligned with the light part, although she had seen priests with other elemental affinities, such as fire or water. After hearing Sally's explanation, Chen realized that he might have the light element. Bobin belittled Chen's elemental power, dismissing it as just a mere light element. Suddenly, Chen disappeared, only to find himself in a different location. He heard someone speak, assuring him there was no need for alarm. The person explained that they had used a simple teleportation spell to bring Chen to a restricted area accessible only to Latinea's most capable talents. The person introduced himself as the defender of Latinea's Delk's town, Hicks. Chen offered to give Sally and the others another chance. He vowed to return and find them, knowing they would all die if he didn't. Bobin and Sally were searching for Chen but decided to see Bros and Faloga instead. Suddenly, they were attacked, and Bobin warned Sally to be careful. He declared he didn't care who the attacker was but would ensure they paid if they harmed Sally. Meanwhile, Chen battled his opponent and realized fighting while carrying a child was impossible. However, the baby seemed content and happy during the fight. Chen was surprised when his opponent noted that he was stronger than expected. He tried to reason with the attacker, asking why they wanted to kill them and what they had done wrong. Chen suggested they work together to defeat the monsters, but the attacker laughed and claimed that Albert had not told Chen the truth about their village. The villagers had made an agreement with the demons to sacrifice some townspeople for their consumption, and not interfere with their hunting outside of town. Albert silently consented to the arrangement to offer the weaklings for peace within the city. Chen argued that they never intended to leave Ladoyana and that Albert was hypocritical. He did not care about Albert's plans but only wanted to return home. Chen declared that he would destroy anything in his way, whether it be humans, monsters, or gods. The attacker taunted Chen, claiming he was no match for a god-sent monster. Chen left the baby in a safe place and told the child not to go until he returned. The attacker threatened to kill Chen and the baby and bury them together, but Chen defeated him. The attacker was surprised and asked Chen who he was. A fight broke out. Bobin and Sally were still fighting the monster. It seemed impossible to hit the beast, but suddenly an attack landed. Everyone wondered who could have done it. Bobin realized that it was Chen who had made the attack. Chen arrived and told the monster that he didn't care who he was or his motives, but if he dared touch his friends, he wouldn't let them off. The monster disappeared. Sally asked Chen what was going on and where he had gone. Chen replied that it was complicated and that he would explain later. The most important thing now was to hurry back home and see how Grandpa Albert was doing, as he might be in trouble. Grandpa Albert was deep in thought about Chen. According to the ancient prophecy, if Chen possessed chaotic elemental power, demons and gods would descend on Earth, and the world would sink into endless darkness. The one with chaotic essential power would be the only person who could save the world. Just then, Chen, Bobin, and Sally arrived. Grandpa Albert asked them why they had come back early. He wondered if they had visited their friends in the hospital so quickly. To their greatest surprise, Grandpa Albert already knew what had happened and who each had faced. He even mentioned the monster's name and the name of the Ladoyana god. Chen wasn't that surprised because he knew they were both guardians of the town. They wondered why they were still attacked, given that they were both guardians of Grandpa Albert. Grandpa Albert decided to narrate the entire story to them. Hick, Lucius, Salkia, and the one who claimed to be the strongest mage of Ladoyana were the earliest heroes to arrive at Ladoyana a few hundred years ago. They built this entire town. Back then, Ladoyana was a more terrible place than hell. When people came there, they not only had to hide from the monsters, but there was also endless unavoidable bloodshed among humans over food and refugee shelters. Driven to starvation, the humans started feeding on the corpses of their companions, and even children were being butchered as food. Just as humans lost hope, Dorp came forward one day. Ceaselessly, he gathered the scattered people and brought them together. Only the oasis was left. He distributed seeds to the people and taught them how to cultivate them. He also established a complete set of rules and regulations. They might have taken people's intention to leave Ladoyana as a threat to the village. If the monsters outside were provoked, the entire town would be in danger because of them. Chen said that Grandpa Albert knew clearly that the whole city had so-called peace through the sacrifice of lives. Bobin joined the conversation and agreed that those damned monsters were sacrificing innocent people to them as food in exchange for filthy peace. They wondered why Grandpa Albert hadn't told them about this. Why didn't Grandpa Albert tell them the truth from the beginning? Or could he also use those innocent people as bargaining chips for peace with a clear conscience? Sally pondered aloud. No, Grandpa Albert is not like that. He is one of the 12 heroes, she added, defending him. Grandpa Albert stopped her and acknowledged that what Chen Jilao said was not wrong. He had indeed silently consented to their evil deeds. Grandpa Albert then asked Chen some questions. He asked, between loved ones that you can't abandon, your sense of justice, and those innocent people, which one would you choose? He was sure that anyone would choose to protect their loved ones without hesitation. After all, as humans, no one would sacrifice their loved ones for others who are entirely unrelated to them. Back then, they used Sally and Bobin's lives to threaten him. If he had insisted on upsetting the balance, Sally and Bobin would have died before him. He could choose justice but couldn't accept letting Sally and Bobin die. Sally and Bobin are the most important people in his life, and to let them both live together, he had no choice but to give in to their suggestion. But if he were alone, he wouldn't have allowed our lives to make such a filthy trade, even at the cost of his life. He has never been a coward who fears death. If one is strong enough to protect both their beloved and their sense of justice, there would be no need to make a choice. Chen said that Grandpa Albert acquiesced because he believed he could not defeat those 4 guardians and protect Sally and Boban. Boban flew up about Chen's words, asking if he was belittling Grandpa Albert. Sally also agreed, saying that even if you are a god, you will meet even more powerful gods, and how can humans always avoid compromise? But Chen apologized, saying that that's how he thinks since he was young. He apologized to Grandpa Albert and asked for forgiveness if he had offended him. Grandpa Albert said that Chen did not have to apologize. He was the only person who needed to apologize immediately because he had initially resigned to being trapped there forever. However, since he met Chen, the hope of leaving had reignited in him again. He decided to tell Sally and Boban the truth, and they should determine their fates. He had already arranged for them if they didn't want to take the risk. Chen got a message from the outside world. He wondered if it could be that he has always been online in-game. And also, why is his mom moving to another place from the message he got? And why is a bald, middle-aged man coming with his mom to drop a message in the school? Or is something wrong with him? Could it be that his physical body is in a comatose state because his consciousness is trapped right where he is? And he thought of his mom selling the house to move to another place to treat him. Chen said that is wrong because the best hospital in the country is in their city. It's neither logical nor reasonable for his mom to move. Besides, with his mom's financial resources, there is no need for her to sell the houses. Chen said, what the heck is going on? He was confused, and the little baby came to play with him. But he kicked the little baby off that he was not playing with him now. So because he made the little child feel bad, a punishment has been activated for him. Teleportation began, but he was sorry and asked for forgiveness. Bros was thinking about what Grandpa Albert had done, most especially why she had everything from them and what motives did he have. He went to Grandpa Albert and said, but they said Grandpa Albert was one of the 12 heroes, the strongest warrior, who defeated the terrifying troll quickly in the Battle of Aubrion. Bros now said he had not thought of meeting him here in his lifetime and asked Grandpa Albert if he is also trapped there also. Grandpa Albert said that is just an empty name. He is just an old man now, and he has already forgotten how long it has been since he came there. However, all those things that Bros mentioned are all in the past, and he shouldn't bring them up anymore. Bros now said that he was actually meeting with someone from Legends. How unbelievably. Albert came to look for him about something. But Albert replied that there were some things that he wanted Bros to do, but Bros requested him to go with them to the person. Grandpa Albert said it's nothing major, it's just that if anyone comes to ask them about the details of how Chen Jilao killed the Beastman King, both he nor Filoga will not divulge anything to them. Bros said to Uncle Albert that he should not worry, even though he does not know why he should keep it a secret, Filoga and he won't let a word slip out from their mouth. Grandpa Albert said thanks to him, he imposed on him today as well, so he should continue to rest well. Bros said, alright, Uncle Albert should take care of himself. That's when Bros now realizes that even an hero was trapped there and he is there wanting to escape. It's just a fool's daydream. Then, Albert says if Bros wishes to leave the place, his only lead now is to go to the depths of Ladoyana to seek the temple. They have already recruited the talent in the town. If Bros is interested, he should come to the south of the city to look for him. Boban came in and said he didn't think Bros could already stand. It seems like his injuries are almost healed, and why is he still awake so late? Bros was thankful to the highly skilled healers. The bone fractures were mostly healed, and he should be able to go out in a few days. Having gone through so much all at once, Bros still struggles to calm down because even Albert, of the 12 heroes, has also come to speak about Chen and the temple. Surprisingly, Boban said it's the same Albert of the 12 heroes. Bros said yes, and if not for the fact that he is also in the warrior class and saw Albert as his goal, collecting all of his portraits, he wouldn't have recognized him either. Still, they wondered how it could be the same Albert who went to the Black Sea solo and killed the troll. Quink, during the Battle of Aubrion, is actually trapped there too. And Bros said that the 12 heroes are not just an empty name. They are the 12 strongest people in the world. Every 5 years, an international battle of the strongest is held. And all the guilds in the world will send 5 heroes to compete, regardless of if they won or lost. The 12 guilds who entered the finals will choose the strongest hero from their team. And that is how the 12 heroes came out. That year, the underdog, the Thunderbird Guild, was a presence that shook the world. Albert alone made the whole world remember the Thunderbird Guild, which had not been established too long ago, and even though Albert's Thunderbird Guild lost to the Cloudlike Guild and Phoenix Guild, the opponents all just barely won. You have to know that the 5 respective heroes of Cloudlike and Phoenix were all heroes who had been selected as the 12 heroes of previous battles of the strongest. Although they are a little older, they are mighty, and Albert's Thunderbird Guild hadn't been established for very long. It can be said that Albert himself defeated many of those from the previous batches of the 12 heroes. But not long after, Thunderbird Guild, the up-and-coming star, disintegrated due to the Battle of Aubrion, and it's said that out of the 5 who entered the contest of the strongest, only Albert survived. After that, Albert went by himself to the Black Sea to kill the troll, Quink, then retired. Ross said that just hearing this is already enough to make one too shocked to process thoughts, and that guy called Chen Zhiliao, his own abilities are definitely not something they can even dream of attaining. Chen had encountered the guy who had killed him when he first entered Latinea. However, the system's detection sensor failed to notify him of the appearance of a monster. To make matters worse, even the beast seemed familiar with Chen and the bug he smelled. Chen realized that the system could not detect creatures of such high rank, which meant that he couldn't depend on it to warn him of any dangerous monsters in the future. Therefore, if he encountered any demons, he would have to fight them head-on. Upon seeing the monster, Chen called him a shithead and mentioned they had met. In response, the beast called Chen a bug and said he had killed him. Chen thanked the monster and mentioned that he was alive and doing well. The beast threatened to kill Chen again, but Chen confidently stated that he was no longer the same weakling who only knew how to hack and slash. He was now a god slayer who could kill even gods. In response, the monster vowed to cut Chen to pieces. The wandering Dominator used his skill, Dominator's Sickle, which increased his attack power by 30%. Chen deduced that this increase in power was due to the monster's elemental energy. Chen knew that he had to be careful of the monster's ability to manipulate essential power to such a high degree. Chen also recalled that when he had encountered the monster previously, his stats had been increased by 100 points, yet the beast had still managed to kill him quickly. This alone proved the monster's capabilities. However, Chen was now level 100 after killing Bastet, and his weapons and equipment were the best he had ever had. If Chen still couldn't defeat the monster, he couldn't forget about the temple. This battle was a critical test that would determine whether he would be able to leave that place or not. The monster insulted Chen by calling him a bug and stating that he was still as slow as he had been before. Chen's weapon durability is now below 70%, so he needs to end the battle quickly before it wears out completely. A multitude of unidentified creatures has suddenly emerged in the Pacific Ocean. The joint squad of countries J and H are already on their way to investigate, and troops from country A, which lies to the east, have also departed from Hawaii. The chief of the special unit called Mr. Zhang Wusen and asked him to explain why Cosmos's monsters appear in the real world. Mr. Wusen replied that he and his team are just the game companies, and the monsters in the game are merely lines of code they have written. He added that he does not believe he is the one they should ask about why these monsters are appearing in the real world. The Sioux chief stated that he now represents Country C's unique law enforcement department and requests that Cosmos's operations be shut down immediately, and that they accept an investigation. Mr. Wusen stated that the game's servers are all in Europe, and Country A and Country H can investigate them. He also said he has other obligations and will take his leave. However, before he leaves, he tells the chief of the Sioux that the monsters they have designed are not based on pure imagination. They have all been modeled after ancient legends from countries worldwide. The chief of the Sioux asks if he is trying to say that those ancient legends are all natural. Chen and his companions encounter 3 S-rank monsters gathered together. Chen notes that 4 level 80 elite and 2 level 120 heroes were deployed when they faced just 1 S-rank nightmare the last time. However, this time there are only 3 of them. Boban acknowledges that they will need help to win with just the 3 of them. President Qin has called for reinforcements, so they should prepare themselves for battle. As they discuss their strategy, another monster appears, which seems to be an SS rank monster. Chen needed clarification on the monster's words. He demanded to know what he meant by Master's power and what he was trying to pull. The beast replied that Master's power was inside Chen, even though he was just a bug. Bros wondered if Chen was the master they were referring to, but Chen denied it, saying he had lost his memories and couldn't remember anything. The monster clarified that the true master was their highest supreme god, Ra, not a human being. Bros recognized Ra as the head of the Egyptian pantheon of 9 deities. But then the monster said something unexpected. Chen was the master. Bros was confused, but the beast explained that Chen had Ra's sole subordinate, a scarab god named Khepri, inside him. The monster asked Chen to accept Khepri as his mercenary sole subordinate, and Chen hesitated. He didn't like the person one bit, but if he had Khepri on his side, it would be easier for him to defeat the temple's boss, Nablus. After considering the benefits, Chen accepted Khepri as his sole subordinate. With Khepri's help, Chen had a new skill, Soul Subordinate, which he could use during battle to summon Khepri to fight by his side. The craft didn't use any MP, and there was no limit to how long Khepri could stay in the battle. However, each Soul Subordinate would take 30% of any experience Chen gained as their own. If a Soul Subordinate died in battle, they would not be revived, and Chen would lose them permanently. Chen realized that things would be more challenging than he thought. But with Khepri's help, his chances of beating Nablus were much more incredible. So Chen used the skill and asked Khepri to tell him everything he knew. As Khepri shared his knowledge, Chen couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. He knew that this was just the beginning of his journey and that he would face many challenges and dangers ahead. But he was determined to press on, use all the skills and tools, and become the best he could be. With Khepri by his side, he felt a glimmer of hope, a flicker of light in the darkness surrounding him. And so he began his next quest, ready for whatever lay ahead. Now on Earth, Mr. Woosen approached Chief Su with urgent news from HQ. Unidentified monsters had appeared in cities worldwide, and the HQ wanted Chief Su to travel to B City immediately to discuss countermeasures. Mr. Woosen handed over a letter instructing Chief Su to gather the team and prepare for departure within 15 minutes. Recordings from H City showed a mysterious woman defeating the monsters. In contrast, the S City Maritime Patrol reported 3 more giant monsters in the East China Sea being held back by 3 people. The recordings were immediately forwarded to experts in B City, who compared them to monsters from a game called Cosmos. Shockingly, they discovered that these monsters were recorded in the legends of Country R. Rather than investigating Mr. Woosen, they focused on the ancient legends. It was impossible to ward off the SS rank monsters, and they were waiting for Chairman Qin's reinforcements to arrive. They must prevent the monsters from entering S City at all costs. Their only hope was the moon of snow and the spatial cleave. Chen heard a voice and assumed it was his uncle, but there was no response when he asked. This perplexed him, as he was sure he had heard a voice. He asked his little kid if he had heard anything, but the child shook his head, indicating that he had not heard anything. Chen wondered if he was experiencing auditory hallucinations due to overworking himself. He then told the child he was going to sleep and that he could lie on him if he wanted. But the child had already fallen asleep. Chen thought about how his mother had raised him alone and promised himself that he would go home soon to see her. He realized he needed to increase his power to defeat the Guardians and leave the town with Grandpa Albert and the others. Although he had killed the Beastman King himself, he felt that the fight he had engaged in that day was completely different. He felt his powers were useless compared to the Beastman King's mindless attacks. The clones had far more remarkable combat skills, but they were still inferior to Chen. He found himself in a strange land and wondered where he was and why he had suddenly appeared there. The man who responded told him it was his inner world and that he had been there ever since Chen became his master. Chen thanked him for helping him defeat the Beastman King and returned to town. He asked the man why the flowers in his inner world were floating around. The man said that everyone's inner world contains what they care about the most, and the flowers were probably the essential thing in Chen's subconscious. Chen was surprised and asked why he had no impression of them. The man said it was irrelevant and did not bring Chen there to answer such questions. He had brought Chen there to make him stronger. Although he had only recovered 1% of his combat power, it was enough to make Chen understand how terrifying chaotic elemental power was. The chaotic essential power Chen could use was not even 0.001% of the man's power. Chen wondered if he was joking or serious when he said that Chen's power was only 0.001% of his own. During a conversation between a man and Chen, the man mentioned a 1,000-fold difference between them. Chen thought the man might be exaggerating, but the man stated that what was important was making Chen stronger so he could live longer. The man warned that if Chen died, he would become nothingness and cease to exist. Chen was promised a considerable reward of 400,000 experience points if he waited 3 minutes. Even if it took 300 minutes, Chen said he would bear it and agreed to start the process. In a separate conversation, the Latinea godman was asked about Chen's strength after getting injured in a fight with him. The godman replied that Chen was just a small fry and careless during the fight. One of his companions countered that they might have collected the godman's corpse if Chen had used all his power. The godman became angry and questioned the companion, Lucius, on her statement. Lucius clarified that Chen was indeed solid but lacked battle skills. The godman boasted that killing Albert and his group would be easy if Lord Dorop was around. In response, Lucius summoned a Latinea wanderer to kill Albert's group in the town. Chen had just 2 minutes left to attain the 400,000 experience he needed. He apologized to the man and asked if he could avoid fighting for 3 more minutes to complete his mission. The man allowed it, and Chen began training, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He wondered why the man didn't stop him from training and had a sinking feeling that his life was on the line. As he trained, he realized that everything he had done up until now had been mere preparation. He was using the Beastman King's shield, which had given him a reaction time of only 0.5 seconds. If not for that, he might already have been dead. The man asked if he was trying to avoid battling with him and said that Chen's quick reactions showed that he was underestimating him. The man warned him that cowardly behavior could not be forgiven and said he needed to find a means of escape. When asked if they could fight later and rest for a few minutes, the man asked why he kept running away instead of fighting, reminding him that the enemy would never give him time to catch his breath. This was his first lesson for Chen. The man attacked again, but Chen could dodge it using a mental skill called Flash, which allowed him to move quickly. The man was surprised by Chen's speed and agility and asked when he had suddenly appeared behind him. He couldn't catch the trajectory of Chen's movements at all. It was as if Chen had suddenly appeared behind him in an instant. Could that be possible? Chen had grown much more robust but still had much to learn. The man was a formidable opponent, and Chen would have to be quick and agile if he hoped to survive. Rashid woke up to a destroyed house, and his body felt like it had been smashed to pieces. He wondered if it was an earthquake that caused this. His first thought was about Bibin, his friend. He looked around and saw the rubble. Don't tell me, is he also buried underneath the rubble? He thought. Rashid called out to Bibin, but he received no response. He feared the worst. He then heard someone throwing things around at midnight. Rashid shouted, "Who the hell is throwing things around at midnight? Do you want to die?" Then, out of the darkness appeared a figure, Chen. Rashid recognized him and wondered what he was doing there. Chen's rage erupted. "You are the monster that killed my parents. Even if I turn into ashes, I will never forget you. I trained so damn hard all these years just for the day I found you. I didn't expect that you would come to me yourself." Rashid was confused as to how there could be a monster here. Chen then told Rashid to leave and that he would tear the monster apart little by little. Rashid wondered what was going on. Meanwhile, Lucius was plotting something sinister with Hicks. They had summoned demons into the village, waiting for Albert. They planned to kill him. Chen then ordered Hicks to deal with the new monsters while he and Lucius handled their business. Rashid was still in shock, not knowing what to do. Meanwhile, Uncle Albert was with Sally. Rashid went to him and told him about Bibin and the monster. Uncle Albert told him to find Chen and ask him to care for Sally. Chen heard the news and realized that only the legendary savior, Hesiod, could use chaotic elemental power to defeat and seal Morpheus, the god of evil. But Hesiod was trapped within the Hell Tower of Tatara with him. Chen then wondered if Uncle Albert was Hesiod. He asked him, but Uncle Albert had no memory of this world. He didn't even remember his name. Chen needed clarification. He wondered why he had come here and how he saved Uncle Albert. He had obtained elemental power, but he didn't know why. Chen hoped that if Uncle Albert was Hesiod and could recover his memories, he might be able to answer his questions. Uncle Albert suggested they fight again, and if Chen used all the skills he knew, maybe he would remember something. Meanwhile, Lucius had arrived at the scene, and Yaruka, a child, was with him. Chen noticed Lucius and wondered why he had a child with him. Lucius tried to reassure Yaruka that he was only there to kill Chen and not her. Chen comforted Yaruka and told her not to be scared. He even said that dungeon monsters were much more challenging than Lucius. The town of Delks was attacked by monsters, causing chaos and destruction throughout the streets. Screams and tormented cries echoed as people ran for their lives, calling for help. Albert, a mighty warrior, rushed to the town center to aid the citizens and take down the monsters. As Albert battled the creatures, he realized that something was not right. The town was surrounded by an enchantment that should have protected them from these attacks, but the monsters had still managed to infiltrate the city. Albert suspected that the demons were merely a cover and that the real goal was to kill all the town's inhabitants. He quickly decided to evacuate the townspeople to his own home and sent his nephew, Bras Faloga, to lead the rescue mission. Meanwhile, Albert headed to the enchantment boundary on the outskirts of the town to seal it shut and prevent any more monsters from entering. Bobrin, Albert's nephew, wanted to accompany him, but Albert insisted he stay behind to protect the townspeople. Albert rushed towards the enchantment boundary with a thunderous roar, ready to face whatever dangers lay ahead. Elsewhere in the town, a battle was raging between two mighty warriors, Lucius and Chen Zhilao. Chen suspected Lucius was behind the monster attacks and had previously attacked his friends. Lucius claimed that Lord Dorop built the town and that any action against it was unacceptable. Chen was determined to find the truth about the temple and would stop at nothing to protect his companions. The two warriors clashed, each displaying incredible powers and skills. Lucius was impressed by Chen's abilities but revealed that he was only just getting started and unleashed his true passion. As the battle continued, the fate of Delks hung in the balance. The mission was clear: annihilate the opponent's leader with the town's stability at 67/100th, and the monster tide progress at 1 divided by. The final rewards would be determined by the last monster tide's progress, and the town's stability, and failure was not an option. And that's how the first part of this Manhwa ends. Well guys, if you like this video,